Well, the history of Prince Hall Masonry, I mean, this rich history goes back even before the United States of America was even the United States of America. And we're talking 1784 when Prince Hall himself and 14 others were made Masons. And that's when the country was going through its process with the British, the whole nine during the Revolutionary War. It goes back that far. But more particularly, we're going to talk about Prince Hall. When you talk about a drum major of peace, a activist, a civil rights icon, you have to mention Prince Hall. He was an abolitionist. He was an educator. He was boots on the ground for his people, for us African Americans back then. And it hasn't stopped. And we're blessed to have this rich history, this rich lineage of history, which we never hear about in school textbooks. You won't hear about it, unfortunately, but I hope one day soon you will. And that's why, Ray, I thank you and NAACP for taking this opportunity to be able to embrace and enrich what Prince Hall, who Prince Hall was, and Prince Hall Masonry here in America, but not just here in America, but more especially here in Georgia for the impact that it made and has been making for our jurisdiction for 150 plus years thus far. So Prince Hall Masonry is ingrained in the fabric here in Georgia. It's ingrained in the fabric of our community. It's ingrained in the fabric of anything historically done. Prince Hall Masonry was involved in it, from the Underground Railroad to the Civil Rights Movement to whatever movement that moves this country. Prince Hall Masonry has had his hands into it. A lot of people know of some of our notable members that we have just recently the late John Lewis. And I can just keep going with a number, Kwasi Mfume, congressmen up in Maryland, and I can just keep naming a few. And I just start right here in Atlanta alone, the late Maynard Jackson, Andrew Young, C.T. Martin, and the list goes on. And of course, one of the most notable Masons out of the jurisdiction of Georgia, just across the country, is the late past Grandmaster John Wesley Dobbs, who served for 32 years during one of the most pivotal times for African Americans, not just across the country, but right here in Georgia, but more so especially in the Atlanta area, with his influence and utilizing Prince Hall Masonry to help leverage and move those things along, using the organization as a whole. Now, when I speak of Prince Hall Masonry, I'm not just talking about us men, our sisters, the women. We walk side by side. Our Eastern Stars work with us, we work with them, we're a unified body. Because what we do as a whole. So when I say Prince Hall Masonry, I'm talking the entire family as a whole. And that's the beauty of it, because there's no exclusion from that. So unlike D9 organization, which I'm a proud member of one, we have our separatism in those things. But when it comes to Prince Hall Masonry, and not just here in Georgia, but across the United States, it's a collaborative effort with the brothers and the sisters working together as one to push an agenda if an agenda needs to be pushed. And we all saw what happened this past electoral process, where we came together as a family as normal. And I truly feel, and I will take it to my grave and say, it was due to Prince Hall Grand Lodge, Prince Hall Grand Chapter, and us collectively working together that turned Georgia blue. Not just turned Georgia blue, but we sent 2 Democratic senators to DC to help our new president and his vice president continue to start moving their agenda forward. And Ray, I do want to say this, because I know the family does not get the credit that it does get. We reach places that a lot of organizations don't go. And like I said, being part of a D9, I know what we do. I know how far we'll go to certain things. But when you're dealing with Prince Hall Masonry and the Eastern Stars, we're in those corners of the country, of the state. We're in those rural areas where we don't normally go, but we are there. And it took a lot of that to happen for a lot of what we saw the end result this past November.